I think if anybody knows me, I always expect myself to perform. I don't look at it as I'm the lowest one on the totem pole. Maybe it's a knock because coaches don't like when you're the lowest one on the totem pole and don't carry yourself like that.
Yeah.
But I just knew that when I'm healthy, I don't think there's many guys who can kind of do what I do. It's going to sound terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of money I spend in clubs, maybe $200,000+. It's insane.
$200,000.
It's insane. Everyone thought I was going to get brought up. The coaches, my DB coach, the other players, and they actually released me from practice squad.
Wow.
As they're about to play the Patriots. Patriots get wind of it and work me out when they fly in town for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up going back, signing a deal with the Patriots to go back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint by Smoking Gun. I'm Brandon. I'm here with Sterling Moore, ex-NFL cornerback, future something. Let's find out. Sterling, my man, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. Really, really cool to see the vibe of where this is kind of going to go. But can you start at the beginning? I really want to go like where you transition through your sports and how that transitioned out. So if you could just, where you born?
I was born in Antioch, California, probably 30 minutes away from Oakland, so an East Bay kid. Grew up in the time where the Raiders were having success, the A's are having success, so it's been a bad couple years for me being from the Bay Area and seeing all the teams leave. But I grew up there and also went to junior college in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my story is a little bit more unique than a lot of people who made it to the NFL. Like I didn't play until my senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it really wasn't a dream of mine.
That's
to
crazy.
Make it. Yeah.
What'd you think? Wait, when you got into sports, you were how old? When you played sports your whole life?
Yeah, whole life. I grew up playing baseball.
Okay.
Baseball, basketball. That's what I played in high school until, my senior year. And I kind of really owe, quote unquote, success to my, my friends. We had one of our guys moved away senior year. One of the corners moved away senior year. And the day before trials, they asked me to
come out.
And so it's been a crazy how it snowballed off of just that. Someone else moving away, one of the starting corners in high school moving away, and them asking me to come out the day before trials. So
how'd you do that year?
We did well. I ended up splitting time as a corner with another guy who also made it to the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was
interesting.
Can't really complain.
Yeah.
We went 10-0, and it was a good season. But it was just one of those things. I just felt like I was going through the motions, just letting athleticism take over.
Yeah.
Didn't really know the game as far as the ins and outs. I just knew, look, tell me to cover this dude, I'll cover this. This, the simple things.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. You're splitting time with another guy who went to the NFL. Who was on the other side of the field?
A guy, and he was really good corner. He was a really good corner in high school. He's just short. But, ball skills was amazing. I think he had 8 interceptions that year.
Wow.
So, you're not taking him off the field. And he had been there, starting for two or so years previous.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was just a guy who understood the system and made a lot of plays on the other side.
Yeah.
So, it was an interesting dynamic to split time with another guy who made it to the NFL as well. Yeah.
That's crazy. The three of y'all ever on the field at the same time? No nickel, no.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know if nickel was a big thing back in those times. I'm sure we were.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you went your senior year. You started getting maybe first couple games in, people started taking notice, or was it like you had to start sending your tapes to people, or how did it go?
Yeah. No. I didn't get noticed at all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get noticed at all, and just. Growing up, I knew I was going to go the junior college route. Just didn't have money to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not take out a big loan to go to college. So did the junior college route. Again, those same friends I went to high school with, are now going to play junior college football, tag along for that. And I think that's the year. So basically my second year playing was an eye-opener for me. I had quite a bit of success. I think 5 interceptions or something like that.
Okay.
At that level.
Who were you playing for?
I was at Los McDonald's Junior College.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say my whole career is just happenstance. Followed those guys there, had great success. Had another friend at Laney Junior College, which was more of a powerhouse, and they were in Oakland. And I mean, again, friend told me, "Though you need to come here."
Yeah,
we put guys out.
Yeah,
I think they put 26 guys D1 the year before.
Wow, okay.
Transferred there just because one of my best friends was like, "Hey, if you want an opportunity, like this is it. It's far better than where you're at."
Yeah.
And that's just took a chance on that. It's been a lot of my friends dragging me places that got me to where I am. And I had a really good year there, and that's where I got noticed. And one of the best coaches I've ever had. I mean, he literally his last game was last week. I think John Beam at Laney, and they've been a powerhouse, a staple out there for a long. They were actually on Last Chance U, so that's where I ended up starting to get noticed, and it was just a cool process because I had never been through it. Most of the guys had been recruited, and I had no idea how that went. Started taking visits, and it was a great experience.
Okay, so you went your first 2 years at a JUCO, and then you transferred to
SMU.
SMU, that's right. Yeah.
So, again, happenstance, my only D1 offer.
Okay.
Like I had quite a few D1 AA offers. There was another D1 offer that was there, but they were transitioning coaches, so didn't know if it was going to stick. And SMU came in last minute. I was actually committed to UMass and had to be there, I don't know, maybe within 10 days if I didn't commit to SMU. So they came in very late and again, took a chance.
Who was the coach at that time?
June Jones.
June Jones.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so how did you guys do when you jumped over there?
We did well. They won one game the year before. And we ended up making a bowl game my first year there. So the first bowl game that SMU played in since the death penalty was my first year there. So I think it was a big year for the football program, and the school in general in that aspect. And then senior year, we make it to the conference championship. So, I mean, I guess you could say a quick turnaround once June got there. Obviously he struggled the first year, but it was a quick turnaround. We did well. It kind of put SMU back on the map when it came to playing football and putting guys out in the league. And, I think there was a 3-year stretch where we had more guys drafted than, like Texas or something. Like we had a run where we were putting guys in the league, and it was just awesome to see. So, and good to be part of something that's a quote unquote a rebuild.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And kind of put your footprint on that, and, and just seeing where kind of the football program's gone now.
Yeah. That's not just a rebuild. That's a generational rebuild. Like taking that thing out, that's a phoenix.
Yeah. They hadn't been relevant, I don't think, in football 2+ decades.
Yeah.
And that was,
it's funny for the people that don't know what the death penalty is. You want to explain what that was?
Yeah, they basically cut the program. The NCAA put down sanctions on them, where they lost all their scholarships. It just didn't make it worth it to keep the program around for the school. So, I think they are the only school to ever have the death penalty.
Yeah, they had a couple violations that they had put out, some recruiting violations. And so basically they got the NCAA took every scholarship away from them, basically assigned them what they called the death penalty. And it's the only school that they did that to because they saw how devastating it was to that school. And it is a 20 or 30 year crash and burn, to a rebuild.
Yeah, to go from, I think they were ranked 2 or 3 in the nation.
Yeah.
To decades worth of non-relevance, struggling, 1 win, 2 wins is, I can't imagine it happening again, ever.
Yeah. Oh, they said it'll never happen again. Yeah. That's crazy. But so you guys got back and this is a huge rebuild, I'm excited for you to talk a little bit about SMU too, as you start to go through that, because, you coming in and being the first one to come back since, they've always had those 1 or 2 or 5-win seasons.
Yeah.
To come back and make it to a bowl. What was the vibe like on the inside just to make it to that?
The vibe was, I think it was a little optimistic. Like we were happy as players, don't get us wrong, but it was also a little underwhelming because it took so long for fans to come back. They hadn't been good, and so like we were winning and the stadium was still being empty.
Right.
So it's like you make it to a bowl, you get bowl eligible. I don't know what we had. I think it was a 8-win season or something like that. And it's like to still see the stands not full or people not coming it was just like, is this kind of what it's going to be, even though we're winning? But again, it's hard for fans to get invested when they hadn't had something to cheer for in, a couple decades.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So that next follow-up season, you guys were thinking, I need to bring more people in. Like this was a plateau, but we need to jump up a little bit. Or you guys, how was the recruiting class that next year?
Yeah, I think the recruiting class was good. And it stayed good for a couple of years. There's so much talent here in Dallas. We started to get that talent back to SMU. But I think what June did was good was he kind of took the recruiting to the West Coast as well, which, of course, when you're a Texas school, you want to just recruit local. You want to recruit Texas, but there's just so much talent that he kind of focused on that to rebuild it. And then once you have a good program, you can kind of now look to the Dallas schools, because the Dallas, they want to go to Texas, they want to go to Tech, A&M, all these things. So that's who you're competing with when you're SMU, and it doesn't have the prestige and allure of those type of programs because of the death penalty. Yeah. Kids nowadays, I mean, me, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know who SMU was even when they came to recruit me. So it was just kind of getting us back on the national map. Yeah. And I think we did a really good job of that. We had the biggest win margin in the entire bowl series between any team. I think we won by like 40 something. So it was good to put us back in the spotlight on that aspect, and the recruiting just kind of took off with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got to the point, like even recruiting out of state, people may not have known who you were, but you also didn't. That was good for some reason. You didn't have that negative stuff that came with it. Yeah,
you don't have the negative stuff, but it's hard to recruit, I guess, when you're not as flashy. You know what I'm saying? And SMU is just not a flashy, just school in general. They pride themselves very much on the academic part as opposed to the athletics part, where you look at these other big time schools, they all they do is promote their athletics, But again, you don't have the negativity, and you're in the fourth biggest sports market in the country. Yeah. Like that's a big time marketing tool.
Yeah. So that's cool. So the next year you guys came back, and how'd y'all do?
We made it to the conference championship. We lost in the conference championship to UCF. So I don't know, that might have been an 8 or 9 win season maybe.
Okay.
We did really good. And as expected, though, you know what I'm saying? It was one of those things. All right, we built off the year before. Yeah. Let's not have a lapse in. All right, we did something last year that hadn't been done. We need to take the jump, and we did. We got some new guys, young recruits, and those guys did well. But I mean, the vets, the guys that were there even before me, those 1 in 10 teams, 1 in 9, whatever it was. Those are the guys who really, kind of put their footprint and their stamp on things, because it's something to play for. When you're really losing and you're on those teams, it's hard to, as much as people be like, oh, the love of the game, it's hard to go out there and lose week in and week out. Yeah. So those guys kind of bought in, but the young guys, the guys that came in with my class, even though they were freshmen and I was a junior, I say kind of changed the culture of, it's cliche, but bringing the swag back to the football program.
Yeah, no, I get that. So your junior year did well. Your senior year, how did you play?
I played really well when I was on the field. I dislocated my knee quite a few times, so I might have missed 5 or 6 games, so half the season. Okay. I would come back, play 2 games, it would happen again. I'm out another 2 to 3 weeks, come back. But I played really, really well that year. when I was out there.
So did you come back for another year due to injury, or did you go to the draft?
No, I went into the draft. I had used my eligibility. Trust me, during that year, I asked, I begged, I wanted to medical redshirt just to come back for, another year, kind of give myself a full year to get healthy and come back. But, coaches were adamant. They're like, and I think they knew, like looking back on it now, they knew we had something in that team, that they needed me out there for. So I, as much as I wish that I would have came back for a fifth year, with the injury, it all worked out. And, we had a great year that year. Obviously, they were right. And anytime not to toot my own horn, but anytime we were out there, it was a different defense than when I wasn't out there. So, and again, making it to the conference championship is, that's why they wanted me out there. They knew what they had in this team.
Yeah. So then you go to, man, I'm out here by myself. Had some injuries. I feel like I'm playing good. Does everybody else see that I'm playing good? Can I make the next level? Was this thought going through your head, or did you feel like I've got this?
There's definitely some doubt because I ended up having surgery in December of my senior year. And obviously, like the timeline is like, all right, we know pro day is April 1st, which was lucky for me because we had one of the latest pro days. Most pro days are February, March. They had kind of thrown in my head that the CFL is probably the option I would have to go to, especially early because of the injuries and just kind of prove I can stay healthy and play at a high level. And I did really well on my pro day. I think I ran a lot faster than a lot of people anticipated me running, especially coming off the injury. It was kind of tough. I couldn't do some drills. I was still out there with a knee brace on. But I think people kind of saw, okay, he kind of did something we didn't expect him to do. He ran better. He moved better.
This is pro day or combine?
This is pro day. So I didn't go to the combine. Okay. I wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Okay.
I wasn't able to go to any of the, Senior Bowl or East-West Shrine game just because of surgery. So I did really well, and I did really well at the Cowboys pro day. I went to the Niners pro day and had a personal workout with the Raiders while I was out there. I think I did really well in those, and I think it was kind of one of those things where people was like, all right, like, this guy might have something,
Yeah. That's cool. So come draft day, you got any clue what's happening, or you got people, people whispering in your ear the whole time? It could be as high as, could be as low as.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be, if a chance to be drafted, it was going to be late. Again, when you miss 6 games your senior year, you have surgery, teams wanted me to work out for them and do the drills that I couldn't do on pro day, and I just wasn't comfortable doing that. They're like, well, we can't put you on our draft board if you don't do these 2 or 3 drills. I said, and it's like, I'm not going to put myself in harm where I feel like I'm not ready to do something yet.
Yeah.
So that was a tough decision. So we knew it was going to be 6th, 7th round, most likely undrafted. And you're sitting around, you're waiting, you're kind of seeing the ticker of, okay, this team might need a corner, this team needs a corner. And there were a few teams who we had talked to that were like, okay, if you're there late, it's an option.
Yeah. You got people around you at this point?
Yeah, just really my agent and his assistant. I don't think I really had I knew kind of, I don't want to have a big thing. And it's an outside chance I get drafted.
Yeah.
I was still in Dallas because I was still doing some rehab stuff. So
family's back
in California. So it was just kind of, it was very small. It was very small. So, you get to the 7th round and there's a couple teams that I thought like these could be the teams. And then they ended up trading their picks. So I was like, that was a bummer. But at the end of the day, look, it worked out. And you get the call after the draft, a few hours after the draft of, a team that wants to sign you. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for is opportunity.
You go through the draft. You're in the 7th round. You see those guys trading as they're going down. Things are coming off the board. Pit in your stomach? Or do you feel like, I'm still good, they're going to hit me afterwards? It has to be some emotional roller coaster there, right?
Yeah, there's you want to get drafted because it's just cool to say you got drafted.
Yeah.
But when you are in that 6th, 7th round, your agent tells you, and when you're young and you don't understand, but it's there's times it's better to go undrafted.
Correct.
You get to kind of pick where you want to go. You can look at the roster and kind of choose, as opposed to, they're taking you just because you're there. There's a bunch of guys. So in hindsight, it was probably best, but I mean, obviously it's cool to say I got drafted. Everybody wants to say I got drafted. Yeah. So it was a little bit of a letdown, especially because you're seeing some guys at your same position being taken that you're better than. But look, again, obviously those guys stayed healthy or whatever the case may be. Like,
big hands.
Yeah. Longer arm, whatever it is. Yeah. There's so many things that go into it that I don't think the average viewer or fan knows of what goes into those things and what goes into those picks. So now that I've kind of seen both sides, especially when I went back to coaching and I was like, okay, I'm glad I went undrafted. You know what I'm saying? It's usually a better option, especially seventh round guys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you get to pick and see what's best for you in the future.
Yeah,
you can sign a contract as opposed to what they've plotted for you. Right.
Yep.
So goes after, it's over. You got a pit in your stomach. You said a couple hours went by. A couple of cold beers went down.
No. No, I mean, it was just kind of one of those anxious things. Like you're trying to keep in communication with, you're texting so many different people and everyone's blowing you up like, oh, sorry, and all these things. You're just kind of waiting and saying. And it was a weird year because it was the lockout year. So we knew we had teams interested, but you couldn't sign if you weren't drafted because of we didn't have a CBA. The NFL didn't have a CBA with the players.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what was the uneasiness of it. It was like, okay, you had conversations, but you can't really lock anything down until the CBA kind of gets finalized for undrafted guys.
Right.
So I think that was maybe a couple of weeks later, honestly. So it's kind of, you have these conversations, you have teams that you say you're interested in, they want you, and kind of said, okay, let's lock it in, but you can only lock it in so much. So you're just kind of hoping that within those couple of weeks, nothing changes and you're still going to get that opportunity.
So how many calls did you get from separate teams after that first couple hours went by?
So I don't actually talk to the teams. That's my agent does that.
Yeah.
So I didn't really talk to anybody.
You don't know how many called?
No, I don't. But being from the Bay Area, I knew once the Raiders called, it was kind of a
church.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer. And they also drafted 2 corners that year.
Okay.
So it was kind of a
uphill battle on that one.
Yeah. But again, I mean, if I knew, I think I had a better relationship with those coaches. They were the only ones that privately worked me out. And that's kind of why I was like, okay, if they took the time to privately work me out, as opposed to the local day group workout, like the Cowboys and the Niners did, I knew that, okay, they're a little bit more serious than, some of these other teams.
So you jumped in that, you took that call immediately, said, headed home.
Yeah.
The Raiders. You just started.
Sure.
What was the call like?
It was really just with my agent. I mean, he calls me, he said, yo, they're 100% in.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it.
A 1-year deal, 2-year deal? What was it?
I think the undrafted is a 2 or 3-year deal.
Okay.
Just a league minimum. A lot of free agents get, they'll get a signing bonus if you're just super high priority. Like, all I got was a plane ticket out there. And I was cool with that.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Again, it makes it a little sweeter when you're going home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I was ecstatic.
So you show up, they do the media photos and everything. You're with all the other guys that have been drafted. People are quizzing you on your position and who you are and whatever. Like, how's that going?
It's kind of a whirlwind. I mean, everything happens very fast in the NFL, especially, again, there was a lockout. So when that deal was signed, you're there because I think we missed maybe a week of training camp, like by the time it got signed. So they were very much ready to get everything going. I think for me, it was a little different than some of the other rookies. Obviously, the guys that got drafted, they were going to have all the interviews and this and that. For me, it was more of the local papers,
right?
And the people that knew I was from the area were, those are the ones that wanted to do the interviews. And I mean, it was just, it was just a cool thing. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get to a team, you're obviously, and especially undrafted, you're the smallest fish in the pond. You're the smallest fish, and to kind of that comfort of there's people here who know who I am because I'm from the area. Was a little bit more comforting, but at the same time, a lot of pressure because you know those eyes are going to be on you playing for the hometown team.
What was a bigger moment for you? Pen to paper, writing that signature on there for your first NFL team, or walking out on the field for the first game?
Walking on the field for the first game.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Pen to paper is great, but you know, it's like, all right, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
To actually suit up and be able to put the jersey on and make it to that, you know, because there's guys who sign and they're cut before the first game.
Yeah.
You know, so to put the jersey on, put the helmet on, run out into an NFL stadium is just, it's a different beast.
Yeah.
It's a different beast.
So you, how many cornerbacks did they take, or did they have on the roster when you were there? And how many did they end up carrying?
I don't know how many they had on. I want to say usually around, including rookies and myself, maybe 10, 11. And I want to say maybe 6 make the team.
Right.
6 and then maybe 1 on practice squad.
So that's crazy. I knew they carried probably 6. I wasn't expecting you to say there was 11 guys out there.
Yep.
An undrafted guy, started in his senior year, went to a JUCO, transferred, had a knee injury, could not go back for school, step into this thing, and you're thinking, man, I'm one of 11 guys.
Yeah, but I think if anybody knows me, I always expect myself to perform. I don't look at it as I'm the lowest one on the totem pole. Maybe it's a knock because coaches don't like when you're the lowest one on the totem pole and don't carry yourself like that.
Yeah.
But I just knew that when I'm healthy, I don't think there's many guys who can kind of do what I do. And I knew I was smart. I knew I was going to pick things up faster than some of the other rookies. I knew I was stronger than some of the, I may not have been as fast, but I think the strength part, you know, when you play in a system that plays a lot of man-to-man, it's, you know, press man-to-man at that, you know, I think that's where I excel at.
Yeah.
So I knew I had a skill set that, you know, was going to work for the Raiders. They played a lot of press. So I grew up watching the corners that were there, and they had a lot of press, you know. They had also just signed a guy to like a $50 million deal. So you knew he was going to be on the field, you know. It's like the 2 draft picks. You knew it was an uphill battle, but I just knew I needed an opportunity. And as soon as somebody got hurt, I said, I'll take all those reps. You know what I'm saying? I was jumping in to take all the reps. And that's kind of where people really got to see how this dude can play.
Yeah. So where did you end up on the depth chart?
The final roster?
Yep.
Final roster, I ended up on practice squad.
Okay.
So I knew I played really well in camp and in preseason. Again, uphill battle. They signed 2 corners. They drafted 2 corners, signed a guy to a $50 million deal the year before. Another core special teams guy. The other starter, that's 5. I think they carried 1 more, the nickel. That's their 6.
Yeah.
I said, all right. I mean, I knew if I could at least get on practice squad, I'd be good.
Okay.
And that call was like the reassuring, like, okay, like they think they have something in me. It may not be this year, whatever the case may be, but and you, by that time I had earned the respect of the guys on the team. And that was kind of the more satisfying part was, all right, these guys, I may be on practice squad, but the guys on the team know what I'm capable of. And that was a big part of it.
How long before you transitioned out of the practice squad? And what was the issue?
So they actually, everybody, they had an injury and everyone thought that I was going to come up to the practice squad. I had been doing really good in practice. I had been giving the first team offense hell in practice. And having an offensive coach in Hugh Jackson, he did not like me for that. Just because I was giving the offense hell. And it is what it is. I understand. When you're on practice, some teams' practice squad, you're just there to give a look.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I was, in my mind, that's not what I'm here to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you throw a bad pass, I'm going to make you pay for it. There's no, I'm on practice squad, I'm just here to shadow a guy. Like, but there's some offenses that want that.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone thought I was going to get brought up, the coaches, my DB coach, the other players, and they actually released me from practice squad.
Wow.
As they're about to play the Patriots. Patriots get wind of it and work me out when they fly in town for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up going back, signing a deal with the Patriots to go back.
Same year.
Same week.
What week was this? Like
week
6?
3.
Week 3. Okay.
Week 3. So they signed me to their practice squad week 3. And I think my first, maybe week 5 or 6 was my first active game.
Uh-huh. So when somebody signs you and they pick you up, they're like, I need some intel. What's happening? Who's doing what? That's what they're picking you for, right? Like, they think they got something because, 1, you could be a good player, but 2, you got some insight on the team we're about to play.
Yeah, so they didn't get any intel from me just because they flew usually across country. They came in on a Friday for a Sunday game and worked me out Saturday.
Yeah.
So there was no, they knew that they weren't getting intel. They're not going to change a game plan or anything the day before, know. But I think I played so well in the preseason against some teams that they had played against that they saw me on tape and was like, okay, well. And as soon as I got released from there, they was like, hey, we're flying in Saturday. We want to work you out. We went to San Jose State to work out. It was just me. And I ended up signing a deal and literally heading back with them after they played.
So for on the active roster for the practice squad?
Practice squad.
Okay.
Practice squad. I was practice squad. And then I think I played my first active game for the Patriots 2, maybe 3 weeks later. And I mean, that's a whole nother experience.
Let's talk about that.
I mean, it's nerve-wracking. You get brought up primarily for special teams the first week. And it was just one of those things like, all right, if I'm in special teams, I may have 8 to 10 plays this game. It's like, let's not mess this up.
Right.
Especially for an organization, as we know, the Patriots are very prone. They have the most roster transactions, especially when Bill was there every year. So it's like, you mess up once, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's just how that organization is. But the good thing about that organization is they're the exact opposite of the Raiders were at the time. If you show us something during practice, you're going to get an opportunity in the game. So that's where it was like, all right, you showed something for 2 weeks in practice, see what you can do Sunday, and for someone like me, that's like, I take every rep in practice. Like I'm just not letting anybody catch the ball. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a starter, whatever the case may be.
Sure, of course.
That was an organization that really appreciated that. That competition level. They want the drive out of their practice squad guys. So I couldn't have asked for, the yin and the yang of the Raiders to the Patriots.
Right.
The Patriots definitely suited more if you prove that you should be here, you're going to get an opportunity to be here. So that first game, I mean, it was nerve-wracking. I want to say it was against the Cowboys, if I remember correctly. Just, again, special teams. And I just remember like, yo, these dudes are way bigger and faster than I should. And they're not. It's just that first actual, like, because in the preseason, you may be going against the second, third team guys.
Yeah.
Like, you get to the regular season, you're playing against all the guys who were good enough to make it. And that, I was like, holy smokes, like receivers, like 6'3", 220, just can roll. It was
4.4s.
Yeah. Just eye-opening, like, yo, these guys are different. Yeah.
So you played in Dallas your first game, or you played
in New England?
In New England
versus Dallas, I believe.
Nice. So are they indoor?
New England?
Yeah.
No,
it's out in the cold, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what was that adjustment like, going from Oakland all the way up to the freezer?
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough for someone who's from the Bay Area, went to school in Dallas.
Yeah.
Back in the Bay Area to go cross. Like, I'd never driven in the snow, practiced in snow, practiced in cold. And if you're going to play outdoors, Bill wants you outdoors for practice.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So It was a tough transition, man. I mean, I'd never heard of seasonal depression until you wake up, it's dark.
Yeah.
You leave meetings, it's dark. Like it's cold and there's snow and that snow's not an excuse to be late. Like it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment. And just being so far away from family, that was an adjustment. Having the support system that like you're literally the farthest away on the country that you can get. The time change, just everyone's calling it their time 7 and it's 10. I'm asleep. You know what I'm saying? Just that time changes. So you really do feel isolated in that aspect. But at the same time, it allows you to just focus on ball. So it's tough, but I feel like it was good for me just to focus on ball because I didn't have the distractions of being back home, being able to contact people at the proper hour, you want to call it that, and really just figuring out what it is to be a pro. Like I didn't have any other distractions. Like who am I going to go to dinner with? Nobody. All right, guess I'm watching tape. So those little things, all those little things help. When you're on your own.
When you're really focusing on your craft and you got to kind of dig in on that kind of stuff. Yeah. Are you on a super crazy meal regimen? Like, what's that like? Just burgers and fries?
Yeah, I'm fish. I'm a lot of fish, turkey. I'm a child when it comes to eating. Like, I don't eat vegetables. Like, I don't want it on my plate. Like, it's just like meat, potatoes.
Nuggets and mac and cheese.
That's it. That's it. I mean, it literally got to a point where they were like, no, you need to put this. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, I cannot. With all these vegetables y'all want me to do, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
Yeah.
And I was a bigger corner. And I think that was an issue for a lot of people. It's like a 205-pound corner, which just isn't not. Most people wanted 190, 195, and they didn't understand that that's just not my body style. And they tried to change it and this and that. And I think a big thing was like once they see me move, once the strength coach sees me move, they're like, okay, you're good where you're at. So it's like you have to prove to them that you can move at this weight because they haven't seen a corner be at this weight.
Yeah.
That's not 6'2".
Yeah.
So they tried. Don't get me wrong, they tried, but it just, I'm a child when it comes to eating.
Do you think any of that size had anything to do with the knee injuries or anything?
No. The knee injury was more, I always played left corner. And our right corner struggled a little bit and they moved me to the right side. And I hadn't played the right side. I jumped off the leg that I was on the left side and it didn't time up right.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think the weight issue had a thing with any of my injuries.
Okay. What's Bill like? You ever get a chance to talk to him? You one-on-ones? Like, what's it about?
It's business. It's business and it's ball. Interesting enough, I saw him a year and a half or so ago, and like I expected him to be like Coach Belichick, and he was just far lighter. I saw him at one of the LSU's pro days and just talking, and I was like, this isn't what I expected. Like I'm used to the coach, like he's coaching you.
Yeah.
It's all business, all ball. It's stern. I think that's tough there. I don't know if Dry Mail's changed it, but it's a lot of, it was negative coaching. And it works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just no praise for when you do a good job because you did your job.
Yeah.
So that was a weird transition, just how the coaching style is. And, that changes from organization to organization. Sure. But that specific coaching style is a little different than most, where it's like, you didn't do a good job. You just did your job.
Do you prefer a general, or a player's coach?
Personally, a player's coach, because I'm not one of the players, or I'm not a guy a coach has to worry about. Like I'm going to be places on time, if not early. If you give us homework, it's done. Like I take good notes. Like that's just me. You know what I'm saying? So the general coach is, obviously you got to keep guys in line. Got a lot of guys come from college that are big time guys and all of that. Just whether they're late or missed meeting, like that's just never been me. So a player's coach, especially a coach who played in the NFL. Like those are the ones that I had more chemistry with, kind of got along with a little bit more. Or coaches that had personality themselves, you know? So, yeah, I just wasn't a guy who needed to be micromanaged. So anytime I get a player's coach, I was happy.
I was just thinking across the league right now, there's somebody that I would pair you up with, your personality type right now. What coach in the league would you really fit with if you were like, I got one guy I got to pick out right now?
That's in the league now?
Right in the league right now.
D'Amico Ryans.
Really? Okay, that's not who I was going to say. I was going to put you in Detroit.
That too. Yeah. No, and Dan Campbell was I don't know why I didn't say that. Dan Campbell was the tight ends coach when I played for the Saints, and Aaron Glenn, the DC, was my corners coach in the Saints. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, that kind of guy for me is the kind of coach that I always liked. You know, it was a guy that was hard-nosed.
Yeah.
You knew you were going to war with, but you knew they had your back no matter what. Everything was open. They were honest. And that's, you know, they were leaders, you know, leaders of men. That's the kind of thing that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think the way the league is transitioning is more to those coaches. The younger, whether you were a player, a lot more players now becoming head coaches, and just younger coaches in general. You look at Miami, you look at Green Bay, you look at even Houston, San Francisco. The coaches are getting younger just because they're more personable to the players. You know what I'm saying? When you got the older coaches, you're not going to run through a brick wall for a guy who doesn't understand you, and just like the times have changed. It is what it is. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. And, you know, that was kind of the era I was in. It was like, man, you keep telling me what to do, but you didn't play. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tough, not saying they don't know the game, but when things are moving 1,000,000 miles an hour and you've never seen 1,000,000 miles an hour, the X's and O's on
a screen,
on the whiteboard, things change. So the coaches who played understand that. And I think that's kind of where the game is going, the coaching aspect.
Are you an analytics guy?
I didn't used to be. I did not used to be. I was a field player. Again, not playing really till my senior year of high school. I had to become kind of like a visual. Like if I see it, I got to put it in the memory bank. That was kind of how I learned. I see it, I feel it, I put it in the memory bank. But the numbers aspect of it, I just wasn't that. I was not that at all. Like you could tell me this is 7 out of 10, and I'm going to sit there and be like, yeah, but this could be one of the 3. Like that's just how I like. Do not tell me numbers. Like I will overanalyze numbers like no other.
Right.
Now you tell me, watch out for this split. All right. Now that's more my language. Like, watch out for this split. If you run this split, he's got 2 routes. Cool. Got it. And that's locked in. If you tell me, oh, he's here 7 out of 10 times going to do this, like, I'm out there like, like, you're telling me it's 70%, and that's a high percentage. Well, what about that 30? You know what I'm saying? So I was not a numbers guy as a player.
I was a baseball guy growing up. And so I always look for numbers and stuff like that. So if you think about someone saying, hey, they hit it, 25%, they're going to try to hit it through the hole over here. Or they're going to do, the shift, started because these guys, and started getting into this. But if someone would tell me, I'd start looking for cues on that person as to were they opening up? Were they dropping their hands a little bit when they wanted to turn on something, whatever. So that way you could start to adjust where you were because you thought this is where they're going to hit it, how you're going to play it. If somebody tells you, hey, they're going to take a route 70% of the time, do you start looking at them going, okay, when they go inside and I know 70% of the time they're doing this, do I start watching film to say he tugs his jersey every time he gets ready to, or he, checks his,
And so that's what I mean by I was a field player. Like I really didn't want a bunch of cut-ups of the whole play. I watched individual receivers for that. For those kind of giveaways.
Those tails.
Like
it's like playing poker.
That's exactly what it is. Right. Especially with receivers, like, all right, they come out. I can tell by the way they jog out. If they come out and they get in a stance to actually pull on their gloves, it might be a pass. If they just come out and don't do anything, they get out here ready to block. Like, it's just those type of things where it's like, all right, cool. If he wipes his hands on his towel before the play, might be a pass because you just don't. You want to make. He's trying to make sure he's ready. How he runs off the line if I'm playing off, his stem. There's so many different things that I would rather look at than just saying 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
because 7 out of 10, great. But now I'm gonna go look and be like, what are the tells
on the 7 of 10?
I'm really looking for the tells of the 3.
Yeah, okay.
More so than the 7.
There you go.
Just the way I look at things.
That's
what are
it's easier to catch those.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And those are the quick. All right, I saw that. I know it's about to be the outlier.
You ever call it out to your teammates, or you just eat it?
Depends.
Yeah,
depends. If I know if I'm man to man, and I know I have no help, like you just eat it. Like you just put it in your mind, boom. Or if you know you got a double on something, or you got a guy jumping a route, it's like, hey, I might just look back and kind of give him that, here it comes, real quick. So it kind of just depends on what we call as a defense. But you also don't want to call it out and it not happen. Now you're messing everybody else up. So it's kind of one of the, it's a fine line of.
You got to be real sure about this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd rather mess myself up than mess everybody up.
Yeah, have a blown coverage.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got to start leaning on everybody as a team as you start working together, and you can't be the...
Well, yes, and I think kind of what people don't understand is, yes, football is a team game. Like, these sports are team games. But especially in football, you got to win your one-on-one matchup.
What's the reason they call it the island?
For sure. But there's 11 guys versus 11 guys. Like, whatever matchup you have for this specific play, you have to win that matchup.
Yeah.
What's your win rate versus, in your matchup? And I think I always remind people that when you talk, it's the ultimate team game. It is because you need 11 people to win their matchup. What's the percentage of 11 dudes on your side of the ball winning the matchup versus their side of the ball?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it is a team game, but they're individual plays, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's jump back to the Patriots for a second. You finished out the season, started, you did not start. How'd that go?
I would bounce back and forth off practice squad and active roster. So they'll bring me up on a Saturday. Monday or Tuesday, I'd go back down to the practice squad, come back up the next week, just roster moves wise, how it goes. And this was with special teams, not really playing much corner. Guy gets hurt. They actually moved my position to safety. My first ever start is at safety, which was,
well, that's good for your size.
Yeah, but for someone who's never played safety, it was like, and you're what they call the field general when you're making the calls. And as a corner, you really don't make any calls. Like this was just completely unknown to me. And a transition I didn't like. I kind of didn't embrace it the way I should have embraced it. But again, you live and you learn, and it got me on the field. I started 3 games of safety. And,
free or strong?
Free.
Okay.
Free. Guy gets healthy again.
Yeah.
Go back down to practice squad, 2 weeks. And then they're like, hey, we have a package for you at corner. You're going to play inside corner. We have a package. And in that package, you're going to follow one guy. I said, even better. This is all I've ever known. One guy, tell me one guy. I'm going to study this one guy. We play the Bills week 16. 2 picks, 1 to the crib.
Talk about this for a second. I don't want to bring this up because I didn't look at your stats beforehand, but it's one thing to get out there and play, but another thing to get out there and perform. The first pick, and that thing hits your hands. What's that like?
It's like I didn't feel it. I knew what route was coming.
Yeah.
Absolutely knew what route was coming. Jumped the route, and it's like, throw your hands up for the ball. It's contested. And I come down, it's like, do I have the ball? It's kind of, I'm questioning. I'm on the ground like, do I have the ball? And sure enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that happened so fast. I didn't even feel the ball hit my hand.
What'd you do? You high pointed it? You cut in front of him? What happened?
I jumped the route. It was I think they ran just marker. They was third down. They were trying to get first down.
You're trying to go in or out?
So every receiver gets to the first down line and kind of just hooks up.
Okay.
And I just knew it was coming. And I just slipped it, undercut it. Now, bigger receiver, I think he's like 6'3", so it was I had the high point. It was, and again, I don't remember the ball hitting my hands. I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah.
Got up and ran for a second before I was tackled. It was a blur. It was a blur.
And then go back to the sidelines, coaches. That's my guy. I picked him. I told y'all.
I mean, again, one of those things that the players knew I could play.
Okay.
Just of what I've done in practice. And everyone's kind of like, I mean, this is one of those congratulatory things. When you got a guy coming off practice squad and getting this opportunity to finally play corner, which was my natural position, it's like, I mean, I just remember everybody being happy. And it was a big moment.
So then he's like, everything is settled here. I'm going to go back out there again. And then the pick six happened. Yeah,
we knew we were up big and we knew they were throwing the ball. Again, I guarded the same guy all game. And I knew they moved him inside. He got closer to the formation. Okay, I got a pretty good opportunity or a thought of what's coming.
Yeah.
He ran it. I jumped it. And ran it in. I don't even know how far I ran it. I really don't. I may have been like 25, 30, 35. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
just booked it.
I just booked it. And I knew I wasn't getting caught. It was a short enough distance. I knew I wasn't getting caught.
Pointing at the quarterback the whole time?
Nah, I ain't do none of that.
I stepped it, dropped it right before you got to the goal line.
It was a little high step. I did get a little high step in there. I definitely got a high step in on that one. I mean, that was a moment. I mean, it's kind of like capped off the game. It was like an exclamation point to the game. We were up big. I had already got a pick. To get another one and run it in was, I mean, I remember watching the video later and there's like the quarterbacks on the sideline, like two. Like, two? And I was just like, so just those type of moments, those interactions afterwards was like, I mean, it's rare to get a pick in the NFL.
Sure.
Two is...
And then a pick six even.
Exactly.
That's why who was the quarterback at the time?
Fitzpatrick in Buffalo.
Oh, all right. Slinger.
Yeah. He's I mean, he could let it go.
Yeah, man, he's some monster games.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, a little bit of a journeyman too, but monster games.
Yeah. I mean, again, he's charismatic. He's got a personality, and he's one of those guys who feel like he could fit the ball anywhere.
Dude, let's put him down here right now. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, y'all need some help down here for sure.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get to that. So you went back, finished the season, 2 picks,
get a bye, first round bye into the playoffs. I stay active the whole way, and that will transition now playing outside corner. End up starting the Super Bowl, and I mean, it literally just a blur of a year, of the last 4 or 5 weeks of playing that year. From undrafted to practice squad
to cut
to sign to say like 2 days later, flying across the country, learning to do defense, up and down off practice squad, move to safety, back to corner. It was a
2 picks and then starting in the playoffs.
It's insane.
Dude, that's bananas.
Yeah. And then I feel like for me, once those 2 picks came, once the first pick came, once the first pick came, I was like, oh, I'm here. I'm here. I belong here.
Yeah.
And I kind of played like that especially the rest of that year. I was playing like on cloud 9.
Did you send any flowers back to Oakland after that was over with?
I want to say I did. And I always have. Especially to Laney. Like, my coach at Laney, like, I just did his interview for his last game retirement. Just be like, I always say, he was in my life for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he's the dude who, like, changed the trajectory of my career. You know what I'm saying? And always been on me to, whether I'm feeling myself, to humble me, but to also always be like, yo, what's next? Let's have a plan for when you're done playing. Let's have a plan.
Yeah.
So,
next year, you with with the Patriots again?
Next year I'm with the Patriots. The third corner, and then they end up trade deadline trading for Aqib Talib.
Okay.
So once you're the third corner, it drops you down to 4.
He's from Denver at the time, I think, maybe?
He was coming from Tampa. He was coming from Tampa. Dropped me to 4. I really wasn't playing special teams. Like, hey, we're going to drop you to practice squad. Same week, Dallas calls on a Friday while I'm in team meeting. Had a feeling it was coming. I ain't go back to meetings. I was gone. They were like, no, we're going to bring you back up. I was like, I'm gone. You know, get an opportunity again, come to a place that I played in college.
Yeah.
Get out of some of the cold. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to leave a team that's winning and winning a lot. But I wanted the opportunity. I knew they had just traded for Aqib, who was a big time corner at the time.
Yeah.
I wanted a chance to play out the rest of the year, like on the knowing I'm going to be on the field.
Yeah. So you came to Dallas, and at that time, started
as the dime. So any third down, I'd be in there.
Okay.
Any third down. So I knew, like, okay, I got a package, I got opportunity, and played the rest of the year at dime. May have played some nickel as well. Kind of fluctuated between corner 3 and 4. And yeah, I mean, I thought I played well that year. You know, the rest of the year, again, new position, new defense, pick things up. I knew Rob Ryan was only going to play man, which was like even better for learning a new system. It's pretty simple. And yeah, again, one of those Cowboys years where it's like either you're going to win the division or you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, and I think we ended up losing last week of the year to the Redskins or something like that. And didn't end up getting in. So, but it again, for me, it was being back in familiar territory was big for me.
Yeah, being back around your people. You had some people at SMU that you were friends with.
Yeah, and actually, Cole Beasley was on the Cowboys, and that was my roommate in college.
Oh,
so it was like, it was an easy call to come back. And I couldn't ask for a better city to come back to, you know.
I saw some highlights of that cat doing like windmill dunks, and
one of the most athletic people I've ever met.
Incredible.
It's insane.
How tall is he?
5'8".
5'8", like 360 windmill dunk. I'm just like, I was like, that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, he's so explosive, twitchy. I mean, everyone's kind of saw what he did out there. He was a monster in the slot.
I hated to see him leave, to be quite honest, but is he still here? What's he doing?
He's down in Austin area, just outside of Austin. He was up here, and he had bought a ranch down there a while ago, so just moved down closer to the ranch. And he's doing well, coaching his kids. You know, I mean,
you guys keep up?
Yeah. And every time they come into Dallas area, I catch up with them, and kind of we still talk to each other. I talk to them another week, so it's we still stay in touch.
Who was your quarterback when you were in New England?
Brady.
And who was your quarterback when you came here?
Romo.
Tell me the difference in the 3 stages of quarterbacks. You went from Brady to Romo. Did you ever get to play with Dak at all down here, or do you see Dak? Even because I know that you and I have talked about him before.
Yeah. Didn't play with him. I know he first got here. We a little bit ran in the same circle in the offseason, be around him. I mean, it's funny that you go from Tom, who's obviously people regard as the greatest ever, to Romo, when at the time, outside media was like, he's not good. Like, he's not a good quarterback. He can't get in really a hump, like, blah, blah, blah. I remember getting here in the first couple practices. I'm like, I don't know what the media is talking about. Like,
he's awesome.
Dude is good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think he ever got the respect.
Truth.
He got the respect within the players, within the guys in the league, the media, and how he's presented. I mean, it just is what it is. The same thing with Dak. I mean, when you're in this market, you're always going to get talked about. You're always going to be talked about negatively unless you win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Obviously, that play in Seattle where he's holding the field. Like, it's hard to escape that unless you go win a Super Bowl. It's hard to escape that. But I just remember always hearing, like, he can't do it. He's not this. He's not that. And I got here and was like, yes, this dude is something.
Yeah. I remember one time I was in New Orleans, and it was for that playoff game in Seattle, but I was in New Orleans watching this at a casino. And I was the only Dallas fan at the whole thing, and everybody else was a New Orleans fan, right?
Yeah.
And so they're all rooting for Seattle. Obviously, they don't want us to win. And Seattle goes ahead. I think Sean Alexander was playing or something at the time like that. Drives in, has a touchdown. They all start, I'm cheering the whole time. Then they are yelling at me and doing whatever.
Yeah.
It gets louder and louder. Well, Romo's driving them down the field. And I'm just saying, I stand up, I'm going, choo-choo, the train is coming, baby. The train is coming. And the whole place is booing me or whatever. And we go down, we score. Or we go down, we get down to the end. All we have to do is kick that little field goal. And I just remember, like, I was standing up the whole time with my hand in the air like this. The ball goes back to him, scoots across the ground. He can't get the field, can't get the hold, takes it, scrambles around the outside, reaches for the end zone, short. And I've never in my life had so many jeers and boos come down on me, paper cups and napkins and everything just flying. I'm doing like this in the middle and everybody's, ah. He's still my boy. I still love him to death. I would stand behind somebody like that
For sure.
every single time because you knew what you were getting when you got that guy.
Yeah. He's an awesome dude too. Like that's how to be a player. He's just an awesome guy.
Yeah.
And, I played with some big time quarterbacks and they're all just awesome people.
Mm-hmm. The difference between those two guys mentally?
I can't really attest to how Tony prepared. But the things I saw Tom do to prepare was just different. Like he'd come and have conversations with me about like, how did you know I was throwing this route? I'm like, for him to want my insight on how I knew.
Yeah.
He was always that little thing. And the thing that was different with him is he told me, I remember him telling me later, he's like, with you, I'll let you jump it early and I'm going to come back to it and beat you later. He would early know that he might get this one. If he doesn't get this one, he'll get a little closer the next time. But when it's time for me to make the play, it's a double move.
I'm going to bite.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I know, like, he kind of baits you in.
Yeah.
And that's something different. Like, for that risk-reward factor of, like, I know, Sterling, you like to jump routes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let you jump one.
Mm-hmm.
Might let you jump a second one.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting third. You know, so it's like he's setting you up for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many quarterbacks are willing to kind of live with that.
Play like that, yeah. But he didn't throw a lot of interceptions too, so maybe he's just letting you get closer and closer.
That's what I'm saying. Like you may not pick it.
Yeah.
You'll jump it. You may catch tackle the first time. Second time, PBU. You're getting closer. Game on the line. I got you. I got you. Yeah.
That's awesome. That cat and mouse chess game.
Yep.
That's really cool. So you came to Dallas. You played here.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you play after that for Dallas?
2 more years after that.
Okay.
2 more years after that. Again, similar year the next year. Goes down to the last week. We lose to Philly.
Yeah.
Year 3. Win the NFC, make to the playoffs. Like, we're round 2 to play. We're feeling good. Like, I don't know what we had, 12 wins that year? 12, 13 wins, something like that. Like, we didn't lose. Like, went into Seattle where Seattle was Seattle and you don't win here.
Yeah.
Beat Seattle in Seattle. I mean, it was some big time where I was like, oh, this team's different. Like, you go to Seattle and win. All right, this is different. Go into Philly, all those primetime games. Go into Philly and like, okay, this team is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And obviously, that was that Dez caught it year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just tough. I mean, it's just tough. It's a tough thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think we all still live with that Dez caught it scenario. I did a commercial for Bacon Plumbing, and had a guy sitting in the backyard, and he was just, talking with the tech that was in the back, and he says, "So Dez caught it, right? So it was a catch.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a catch. I mean, we're gonna live with that forever."
Well, they changed the rule after that.
I know, yeah.
So that's how you know it's one of those pivotal things that, like, whatever he did, making a move that constitutes a catch is because he 2 steps and reaching for it. Like, that is, I have the ball. You know what I'm saying? So changing the rule on how they look at a catch kind of confirms that
Mm-hmm.
It was a catch.
Yeah, everybody thought that was some bull.
Yeah.
We all lived that one. So anyways, where'd you go after Dallas?
I went to Tampa.
Okay.
I went to Tampa for a year, and that was it was a tough year. I played really well. That year. We were just a bad team.
Mm.
And it's tough to either get the recognition or be seen, or, I think that's the thing that helped me being in Dallas. There's so many primetime games. Like, you play well in Dallas, like, people are going to see it.
Yeah.
You can play well for a team that's going to have 3-4 wins. No one's seeing it.
Right.
And now you're going to free agency, but no one really cared because no one really saw you. Like, there's so many things that go into it, the visibility aspect. But I played really well. I thoroughly enjoyed Tampa. I wanted to return. I thought I would return. They fired the coach. So obviously that changes, a whole bunch of things.
And Tom was coming back in? Is that close?
No. Tom was still there. But interestingly enough, I got to Tampa because the GM in Tampa was some player development guy in New England when I was there. So it was that familiar. And I didn't even remember the guy. But, so that's how kind of the league works. Like, this guy used to be here when you were maybe a rookie, and now this. Like, there's so many different aspects that go into it.
He remembers your 2-pick game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember playing in Tampa. I played really well against the Saints both times. And I remember Sean coming up to me after week 16, 17. I was like, just say, yo, like, I noticed you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him, like, come get me in the offseason. And sure enough, they came. And I was like, thank God. Like, to go, and that's how it is. Division teams, you play well against, they for sure take notice. They for sure take notice, especially a coach like Sean Payton, an offensive guy like that. Like, he's going to take notice of you.
Yeah, they always say people remember the burns more.
100%.
Yeah.
And again, a division, like, if you play well within the division, like, a lot of times when you become a free agent, those are the teams that come after you because they know you're going to help you win games within the division. Familiarity with the division, familiarity with the team you just came from.
Same play styles.
Yeah. And they know how you play best because they see you 2 times a year as opposed to teams, across the country that may play once every 4 years, just kind of thing. So that was the interesting thing about Tampa is I played really well for 2 games against the Saints and ended up becoming a Saint, you know. So, but it was a trying year.
Yeah.
It was a trying year.
How'd you guys do?
In New Orleans? I mean, in Tampa?
In New Orleans.
New Orleans, first year, just middle of the pack, I think 8-8.
Yeah.
And then an insane rookie class in the next year. I mean, we had the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. Get Kamara. It's just insane. An insane draft class that year. Especially, and then with all the guys coming back, it's just, I mean, we did really well. I think we won the NFC South, get to the playoffs, win the first playoff game, I believe. And then, again, I'm part of one of those catches where the Minnesota Miracle thing happens. We're up and just like, it was tough. It was tough because we knew what we had as a team.
Yeah.
And
you weren't guarding on that, were you?
No, I wasn't. It was a tough deal.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things where you just kind of know you have the game won. For that to happen just heartbreaking. So because we knew we were close.
Yeah.
We knew we were close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those deals like it's cool to see something great happen. Like I said, people remember the burns. If you're the guy that got beat on the Minnesota Miracle, that's life-changing. You know what I mean? That's like you probably carry that one further than any of your other wins you have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I mean, tough being a vet that year too, because the guy who missed the tackle was a rookie. And I mean, dude ball, don't get me wrong, it's like a second-round draft pick. Played really well for that to happen to him. I mean, it's kind of one of those things as a vet, it's like, all right, how can I kind of put my arm around this guy, be like, yo, don't let this play define you type thing. Cool. Like, you're really staying on the dudes about that. And I mean, but it's tough to see it happen to a rookie, that played so well throughout the year. Just, But again, as you know, as a vet, it's kind of like, all right, how can we move this dude past this?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
So after the Saints,
I go to Detroit for part of the year. And
no, it didn't work out.
Nah, it wasn't a good. I mean, again, play well. It's one of those things, and I think people don't understand. It's like once you get older in the NFL, like maybe people will notice after hearing this, like you'll hear or see veteran guys get cut. Week 1 before week 1, and then re-sign week 2.
Yeah,
it's so the team doesn't have to guarantee their contract. If you are a veteran on the team week 1, the rest of your salary for that year is guaranteed no matter what.
Yeah.
So it always goes kind of into that and kind of into, hey, we can afford 2 rookies for what we have to pay your minimum.
Got it.
You know, once you get to that.
Yeah.
Get to that stage.
It's a numbers game at that point.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. It's a salary cap game. It's those young kids are going to go out there and play a little bit more special teams than probably I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Just, you know, and that's the game. Because, I mean, that's how I came up. Guys off practice squad coming up. You don't got to pay them much, you know, league minimum. And they're going to go out there and run through a brick wall for you. The vet, he's a little bit more cautious. You know, I mean, the game is the game. And I mean, it really does come full circle for a lot of guys that start out on practice squad and make it. So, I didn't, you know, was there for part of the year and, you know, liked my time there, but.
So you've gone through, how many teams did you end up playing for?
6 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, 6. But again, like that's
I love the fact you don't even have that memorized. It's like
I don't
people's
know.
dream to play for a team, and you're like, I don't know, 6 or so. Something.
Yeah, but I mean, 2 or 3 of those years was like 2 teams in a year. You know what I'm saying? Like
the team's a team, baby.
You know, don't get me wrong. The team's a team. I mean, you do what you do to last as long as you can. Really. Like no matter how much I could play for all 32 teams. And so what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You'd be the only person ever, but that'd be sick.
Yeah, there's some backup quarterbacks who are making it at it.
That's cool. So what happens after football? Like, let me ask you this. While you're in the league, are you living a lifestyle or are you playing it low key?
Personally, somewhere in between.
Okay.
I'm one of the cheapest people. I mean, I don't like to buy a whole bunch of lavish stuff. I like watches, cool. That's about the extent of my spending money. But I was very big on, I know I'm undrafted. I know I started on practice squad. Hey, let's hit this number with the financial advisor, and you know that number can last you X amount of years. You know, so I was always very conscious of putting. Let's get to this number.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope I get to this number. But I did not. I look back now. I had these conversations with people. It's like it's gonna sound terrible. The amount of money I spend in clubs, maybe $200,000+. It's insane.
$200,000.
It's insane.
Wow.
No, yeah, it's insane to think back and look at the amount of money you spent in the.
What was the famous? What'd you put on the sign? Like Sterling.
Nah. So that was the crazy part. I'm like I said, I'm very low key. Like I would tell don't bring no sign, don't bring no sparklers. Like just bring the bottle. Like, I don't want none of this extra flashy stuff. That's not really my thing. But you look back and it's like
we blew through something.
We blew through some money.
We blew through a house.
Yeah, you blew through some money and it, you know, was it worth it? Sure. I mean,
you live it?
Yeah. I mean, in the long run, and would you like to have it back? Yes.
But you literally pissed it away.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things. Like, man, it's just one of those things you talk to about players. Like, how much do you think you spent in the club? And kind of going through numbers. Like, guys way more than I'm. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, but it's one of those things. Like, yeah, you're only living this lifestyle for maybe a decade. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it goes by fast. Yeah. And when you're putting in the amount of work that you're putting in, you got 16, 17 to make the playoffs, Super Bowl, 20-something week season. You got OTAs, like your football, when your downtime is your downtime, it's like
Let's let loose.
Yeah, because there's none of that for 5 months, 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you burned through a little bit on that deal.
Yeah. Burned through a little bit. But again,
is what it is. So that's cool though, because that kind of sets up where I'm going with this. Like, if you can start to see, like, this is how much money I had coming in. I want to put away X, right? I blew through X. Mm-hmm. You had a number you wanted to hit. Was any of that like investments? Was that like, I need to start a business? Was that like, I'm just going to chip in on your business? Like, how did you go about it?
Yeah. When I first learned about it and the number and talked to financial advisor, it was just like, yo, let's stash cash and kind of, again, what he does with obviously is the investment aspect of it, but you want a portfolio's worth of X amount of money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where, it's like, hey, I know you were going to put 70% in stocks and bonds, and now I have these other investment ideas that I want to do, whether that's restaurants, apartment complexes, whatever the case may be, buying my house, if I need money to buy my parents' house. It's like but at the end of the day, you want a portfolio X. And that's the thing. And I had to learn as, someone who didn't really enjoy spending a bunch of money outside of what the club era that I had. Buying a house, buying parents' stuff, like, that's still an investment. It's hard to look at your house as a portfolio of,
because it's not liquid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's all I knew. And it took me a little of, education on that financial aspect. It's like, okay, you may look in your account and it doesn't say cash value this, but when you look at your entire portfolio, it's adding up to this.
Yeah. Are you leaning on somebody to tell you what to invest in? Or are you looking for yourself to say, these are the things I'm passionate about, or these things seem to bring the most value, or I really like that person and what they're doing, I want to be a part of? Like, how are you doing this?
It's somewhere in between. I mean, I know I lean on my financial advisor a lot for the stocks, the bonds, the tech stuff. Like, that's his world. Like, he's always looking for the next thing to invest in.
The cryptos.
Nope. Which in hindsight, I mean, obviously it's doing well. Like, it's
93,000 or something.
But it was so new. It's like, that's not what it is. But it's a combination of both. I mean, people come to me with things and I take it to him. And then I'm like, I think don't want to say I'm different than most athletes, but a lot of people think that athletes are just like, oh yeah, I'll just take money and throw it in this, where it's like, I have a very good checks and balances system. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's hard to talk to me about an investment. And like, I've kind of done my research and I ask a lot of questions that people don't think that I would ask because I'm an athlete. And then I'm like, okay, you had a conversation with me and I asked you a question. If you get past that, which a lot don't because they just think they can talk fast and it's going to work on me. Okay, talk to my financial advisor now. And now he's going to really hit you for those questions. Like, because my financial advisor is big on, why do they want you to invest? Like, why do they need your money? And that's always a question that's like, if they don't have an answer to that, kind of tells you something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's something that,
because it's green. I mean, that's a lot of people are looking, right?
And that's what I'm saying. You look at a guy who's, okay, he's either making money while I was in the league or he's got money. We know he has money. Like, let's go after this and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, why do you need my money? Like, if my money is going to make or break your deal, then it's not for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
If I don't add value to this, is that what you're saying?
No, if you, like, you shouldn't have to oversell what you're selling for me to invest. Like, if you need my money to make this work, the way I look at it is like, it may not be for me.
Okay. That's a high risk thing then at that point.
Yes and no. I just feel like, hey, if I'm your last straw,
okay.
Like, if you need what I'm going to give you, doesn't seem right to me.
Okay. You don't want to be, I'm speaking for you. You want to be an investor in something that's solid. You don't want to be the lead investor in something that is shaky.
I guess that's the way I kind of think about it. It's just a product that's
a product already.
Yeah.
You want to invest in something on the way up. You don't want to create something to go up the door. And you need me, and we're too small at this point.
And that's what it is. Like you're looking. There's so many other ways to garner, your funding. If you get to me and I'm the last resort, I'm like, all right, this seems a little.
I got you.
Yeah.
I had to feel that out for a minute. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Now I'm with you on this. I mean, because really, like, intent for me is everything. Like, I sit there and think, as you go through, and like, I've been building my business for a while. Like, as I start to think, like, who do you involve yourself with at any given day? Like, what causes people to move the needle, right?
Yeah.
What causes people to be inspired? And you always ping people. Like, is it you see passion, or you see desire, or you see something in somebody, or you see something as a financial investment that you think is a win? And that depends on, who you are and the type of person
100%.
That wants to invest that way, right?
100%.
Okay. So you do little investments, like you said, apartments or, businesses, small businesses or something, but you want to be minority, and you kind of want to diversify that across a bunch of platforms instead of being a heavy-handed person in one area.
For sure. And just your investing as you transition out of football gets different. I was willing to take, obviously, a little bit more risk while I was playing, and things that, may not pay out for 5 to 7 years, and then once you retire, it's like, all right, that model's not sustainable when that amount of money you were making isn't coming in anymore. Now it's all right, I need monthly, quarterly mailbox money. You're looking for those investments. So it's not only a mental flip on like, what do I find passion in next now that I'm done playing? It's my lifestyle has to change. There's some people around me who aren't going to be around anymore.
No more $200K at the bar.
And no more $200. Well, yeah, it's $200, but cut down on that, cut down on travel. All right, maybe it's not first class every flight now, and then down to the investing. It's like, all right, this play, you have all these things lined up that you wanted to do, but they're all multi-year investments without getting a return. It's like, nah, I can't do that anymore. Now I got to look to those things that are going to bring
stability.
This
is so cool because this is a completely different person than what I thought about you a minute ago. I thought the guy goes for it on everything, never looks in the mirror, in the rearview mirror, like believes in himself wholeheartedly, never second guesses any decision, to now safe. I want to play peace. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. It is just a completely flip of the switch from what I thought from you earlier was like, this guy's a go for the gusto guy.
Yeah. And I think I am in a lot of aspects of life when it comes to money. I'm complete opposite. I'm a little bit more reserved when it comes to the money aspect of things. I think the biggest thing that stuck with me, like from the initial conversation with my financial advisor, was like, you look at baseball, you hit singles and doubles.
Yeah.
Like you can sustain your lifestyle hitting singles and doubles.
Yes.
You cannot sustain your lifestyle hitting
swinging and missing.
Yeah, you'll hit home runs, but your strikeouts are also...
You got a 184 average, that ain't going to get us.
Yeah. It's like you make it to the Hall of Fame by having a higher batting average. And so that's always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of when it comes to money and finance and investing, it's like those are the things that I'm looking for. I'm okay with not being in on your first restaurant. I need to see a sustainable model. I think you transition to that when you retire. It's like you're looking for a more sustainable model of doing things as opposed to, okay, we could take a risk on, the first storefront or the first apartment complex or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That's compartmentalizing, just, you take one section of your life and you close the door on it, or you say, all right, this is a gear shift because this is not the role I'm playing anymore.
Right.
Like, that's really cool because some people have a hard time making that transition.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I mean, I don't want to say I didn't get stuff from my family, but I was very much so when I got to the league. Like, you're not gonna just use me for money. Don't ask me for things. Like, and my parents are very good about that. Like, I think that's where I'm lucky. Is my parents were very good about like, your money's your money. We're not gonna bother you for money. We know that like, this money needs to last you for whatever. Like, I think my parents were very good about that. My family, my friends knew it. We're going to Vegas, yo, y'all pitching in. Like, I know I have the money to do it, but y'all are pitching in. And that was just me from the get-go. Yeah. You know, that was me before I had money. When I have money, now that I'm retired, it's like, yo, we can do it. Yeah. But you guys are pitching in. Like, but I also think that's good in a way for those people as well, because they realize like, yo, they're not leaning on someone.
We had a guy in here, Devontae Harris, who I told you about earlier, and he said something very eye-opening to me. He said, I was told, give someone, if you give a gift, make it be a want, not a need. And I thought, oh, you said that backwards. And he said, no, I said it right. And I thought, explain, please. And he said, if you want something, it's a one-time thing that you may want. You may want a Mercedes, or you may want a trip somewhere. A need is your light, is your house bill, and that's going to be here the next day, the next month, and the next month, and the next month, and the next month. I'm not here to sustain your lifestyle. Yep. But I am here to give you a want every once in a while. Yeah. And I thought, wow, completely, put me on my butt, because, I wanted to correct him when he said it, because you would think, oh, I'm here to help somebody because they can't get their lights on. Yeah. But if you can't live a lifestyle where you can turn your own lights on, then that's your lifestyle that you're outperforming. Exactly. Right? Yeah. But that type of that type of a mindset on, hey, if we can go do this, but you have to be putting it, like you have to hurt like I hurt. Yeah. Yeah. And listen, again, they're not putting it, it's not even like I'll brunt most of it. Yeah. But y'all are putting, like, it needs to be one of those things where it's like, if y'all can't afford to do it, let's not do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think it's been big in my friends group, because now they're to the point where they're successful in doing things. Yeah. Where they're kind of where, like, all right. I see. Yeah. So it's cool to see that transition amongst, my friends, my family, that, they knew that I wasn't just going to hand them things. Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I'm going to ask you a couple other questions. So, you see that fight this week? Yeah. What do you think about that mess? Fixed, not fixed? I don't want to say fixed, but it's an agreement that, all right, we're not going to go out here and really hurt knock my head off? Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to see those clips of Tyson in the ring and blah, blah, what he was doing during training, and then he just looked nothing like that. Yes. I don't know, but I also go back to maybe a year and a half ago, where you hear Mike Tyson's loving what Jake Paul's doing, like loving what he's doing, thinking that he's the ascent for the next crop of just getting fighting back to the platform of what it was. And I think he saw this as a stepping stone to continue that rise. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to help this kid get to an even bigger stardom, because he's getting more eyes to boxing, which had been in declining viewership. So I don't want to say it was rigged, but I think it was a exhibitional professional bout. I agree with that statement. I told everybody, I said, let me tell you something. The rig is in. And somebody goes, what do you mean? The fight ain't even happened. I said, the rig is in. Go to Vegas. All the whales are telling you that, all the people are telling you that the whales are moving their money to Jake Paul right now. You and I both know Jake Paul cannot beat up no Mike Tyson. You see these videos going over here. You know, if you got some money, go put it on Tyson right now. I mean, on Jake Paul right now. Yeah. Because Tyson, I'm telling you, is not going to happen. And everybody's like, I don't know, man. He's going to get in there and the screw's going to be loose and something's going to happen. I was like, I said, that may happen. That truly may happen. But guess what? This is a business. And they're not going to tear that machine up. Right. The machine is, if Tyson goes in there and loses, they both get paid. Jake Paul has another fight with somebody else above that for another payday. Exactly. If that machine breaks when Tyson, this is the end of the road. They're not going to tear up a $60 million machine overnight. Exactly. They had the largest attendance to a boxing thing in American Airlines. 72,000 people came to that thing. That was crazy. That was a boxing match. Yeah. Exhibition style. Exactly. Yeah. I just hope the next one, and I'm all for people making money and doing their thing or whatever. Let's just see some hitting. No question. No question. Don't dance. Don't megaphone to get our attention for so long, and then you stand out there and you get on the top of the mountain telling us about this, that, and the other, and then you get in there and pillow fight with people. That was disheartening because Iron Mike Tyson was my generation. Don't take that from my generation. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was definitely, 8 2-minute rounds. 16 minutes worth of boxing is just like, that's how you kind of knew it was like, this isn't for real.
Well, the gigantic gloves they put on, So I was kind of upset by that at the end of the day because, again, Mike Tyson was, I told my kids about Mike Tyson coming up, and I was like, this dude was a must-see. He was a must-watch. And you had to be there by the start of the bell.
Yeah.
Because if you was 30 seconds late, the fight was over.
Yep.
And it was dudes that was 7 feet tall coming in here, and he's 5'10", and he's putting them on their tail in 30 seconds. So to me, that
I think sports in general has become so conglomerate business. Like you're starting to see it a little bit more and more. You look at the NBA now; they got this in-season playoff. Like, what's the reason for that? Oh, viewership was down. Let's give them something to watch. Now it's sponsored by Emirates. I'm like, all right, guys. Like, everything's become such a sponsored by this. Like, this is put on by this. Like, for any segment of anything in sports. So it's just become so business-like, especially in sports like boxing, the MMA, all those things.
So I'm gonna take this transition. You saw how sponsorship changed that boxing match right there.
Yep.
Money drew that thing to be a conclusion. Is that going to happen in the NFL? Does that happen in the NFL?
I'm going to say no when it comes to the players on the field. When the players are going to play. Players don't give a damn about these sponsorships and this. But when it comes to, hey, let's go fly 2 teams to Brazil and play on a field that's absolutely terrible and putting players at risk for injury.
Yeah.
But it's a marketing
ploy.
It's a high marketable game because you're playing in a place for the first time. Let's get these new fans to like.
Gonna be Jacksonville fans all over the world now.
Yeah, like it's like.
Let's take our least performing place and send it way over.
When it comes to the business aspect, it's like, it's more so of that. Where are we going to play this game? There's so many international games now. I think we played in a game that was like, we played at Cleveland a couple years ago. It was 20, felt like minus 20 something. When the city of Cleveland is like, do not leave your home. Why are we playing this game?
Right.
Like, but no, you're getting out there, you're playing this. There's money, there's sponsorship, there's deals on like, it's not, that field was like ice. Like, it's firm, it's hard. It's like, we should not be out here playing. And people go, oh, tough it up. I'm like, yo, if they're telling the citizens, do not come out your house, or you're forcing guys to get out there and potentially get hurt just off, the deals that you have. So, I don't think it's going to really affect player-wise as much as opposed to the actual league and the owners and where games are being played.
So do you think the ownership or the league in general is scripting any of their things based upon where things go, who plays what referees dictate? You'll see sometimes teams get crazy amount of penalties.
I think this
on
is
one
the
side.
first year where I'll be like, all right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is getting a little egregious, like where
KC.
Like the outcome of a game like is dictated because you miss a face mask call or you miss something like that. I'm like, and it's getting to the point where I'm like, all right, this seems a little
like your boy in KC keeps jumping off sides like he's walked back to the other end zone. He's gone to his sideline twice and they ain't called it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do think there's something to we're gonna now maybe the refereeing crew who's gonna be here is, I don't know if they're indifferent to either team, but maybe they have one of the higher scoring games. Maybe anytime this ref's here, the score is higher.
Well, don't you think that depends on let's go put the refs in here that are the higher scoring guys. These people over here can't score for anything. These people are really good scorers. That's going to really predict a win, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's in that aspect. I think it's more the aspect of what's the primetime game. They want points on primetime games. Like, yeah, well, I don't even know the score last night. I was on a flight, so I have no idea what the score was last night.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things where it's like people would be like, why wasn't this game flexed? Y'all could have flexed another team. And now, granted, that's hard to do on a Monday night, late, but it's like you would anticipate that game being a high-scoring game if both teams were at full capacity. And let's put the rest that, have a tendency to have a higher points total.
Yeah.
Because that's exciting. That's what the league wants. They want offense. They want scoring. That's what drives fans. Like, it's the excitement. Again, don't know if this is real or not.
Yeah.
But if there's an aspect of I can see things happening that way, maybe that's it.
You get a chance to pick in order 1, 2, and 3 quarterbacks and rank them
in the league now. Or
Brady, Romo, Dak.
Well, see, I play with Drew Brees too.
Okay.
So, I mean,
throw it in there, make it 4.
Tom, Drew, Tony, Dak.
Yeah. So much hot potato when it comes to Dak or Tony in it. And what do you see the difference there?
I think when it came to Dak earlier in his career, it was more so, let's not let him beat it. Like, let's force him to throw. I don't necessarily think that was the case with Tony. You know what I'm saying? I think he had no issue throwing the ball, making plays with his arm. I think Dak's done a very good job as his career's gone on of ascending as a passer. But it was just one of those things where when he got thrust in there, it was like, you had the run game, you had Zeke, like, we'll stack the box. And we don't think he can beat us with his arm. And again, I think he's done a really good job of kind of changing the narrative on that some. Because everyone's saying like, oh, he's first in the league in passing, he's first in the league in this and that and all these categories. But it's like, he is, but they're also behind in a ton of games. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, you can lead the league in passing.
Gotcha.
Like, Matthew Stafford would be top of the league in passing with Detroit, and they stunk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's like, of course, you're throwing the ball 50 times a game.
Yeah, if you're ever drafting a fantasy quarterback, you get a mid-tier suck team because you know they're going to be behind and they're going to be just airing it out all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I do think I think Dak's a top 10 quarterback in the league when he's healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when it comes to that order, I mean, he's got to be 4 for me.
Yeah.
He's got to be 4.
As you start to go down the line right now, and you start thinking about the Cowboys and where they're going with this, is this a downhill slide or is this a bump in the road because of injuries?
A little bit of both. I do think that I think the injuries play, like, the injuries in the league are a huge part. Yeah. It is what it is. Like, and it's, you know how hard it is to make it to the playoffs in the Super Bowl when your team be healthy. Yeah. Like, it's 100% injury sport. It is what it is. But there's so many outside influences with the Cowboys. For me personally, maybe I'm a little bit more old school as a player wise. I don't like the active players necessarily having the podcast that they have in season. If that makes sense. Like, I have no problem with you doing what you're doing. Let's keep the main thing.
The distractions are heavy right now.
Yeah, you know, you got to produce this, you got to do this. Like, people are going to ask you those questions, those hard-hitting questions, or maybe you feel inclined to say things that you necessarily wouldn't say because you know you have a show to do or this or that. Like, I have no problem with it. I think I love players having their own thing. I'd like to see it in the off season a little bit more than the regular season. Just because during the regular season, there are so many emotions that go into a win, a loss. Now to get on a mic the next day and try to explain that, I think that's tough. I think that's tough. There's a lot of emotions still running through your head the next day. When you have a podcast, you got to put out as to what happened yesterday, or guys throwing guys under the bus a little bit. I like to see a little bit more of it in the off season or a bye week maybe, than opposed to
fresh off emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about these curtains in the end zone?
That glare is something. That glare is definitely a real issue. It's real.
What do you think the dig in is? Why not just close the curtains? I mean, they're already there, right?
I don't think they are. Somebody
said that they could just hit the button and they drop down or whatever.
I don't think that there's curtains there.
Okay.
I really don't. Again, anytime I'm in that stadium, I've never been over there in that area of, but I don't know that there necessarily is curtains.
Okay.
But it is a real glare that comes through that, especially once it gets to you play a 3:30 game in the fall, where that sun is setting at that time. It's different early in the season.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that glare at 3:30 and the sun's still up, when the game's over. Once that time change in the fall hits, about 5:30, like that glare is running through that glass. So it is a concern. I don't know. I don't have the solution to it.
I mean, got put a little tint on a window.
Yeah, that's my thing. Put a little tint. Maybe, obviously, if there is curtains, at least drop them to where the level of the entrance doors are. Maybe some, because it's the entire wall is glass. You know what I'm saying? At least for the 3:30 games. If you're at a noon game, you're good.
Yeah.
If you're at a night game, you're good.
But what's the digging behind that? Why do you think that that's such an issue? I mean, it seems like an easy solve.
I think just aesthetic of the stadium. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, just the aesthetic of the stadium. He wants to keep it looking a certain way. I don't know. I don't know. I think this is the first time it's become this big of an issue.
Yeah. Well, there's a drop pass in the end zone.
No question.
Yeah.
So, again, I think it's just a big thing because of it's the first time it's cost a true touchdown.
Yeah.
And when you got a player as big as CD saying it, it's gonna carries a little bit more weight. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy now that people have the weight to, or the ability to speak what they want to speak? When it comes to, I've got my money.
For sure.
Contracts here now. Now I can say what I want to say, versus I probably would have bit my tongue 6 months ago because I still needed a signature.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's in a position where he knows who he is. And there's maybe a handful of guys who can do what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of.
I support CD. I think it's a great thing. I'm not kicking him at all.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, I think, it's a privilege to have in the league because 95% of the guys can't say what they really want to say and get away with saying what they really want to say.
Right.
And again, I think it's great that, look, players are having more of a voice. Like I think football players are taking a little bit of what happened in basketball. Like those players, like football's like, all right, if you're a guy, you have a voice. And guys, especially the younger generation, they're not afraid to voice what they got to say.
Yeah.
And, again, when you're a top 5 receiver in the league, I think you can afford to comment on the glare of a stadium.
Yeah, I think so too. It will ruffle some feathers from probably the people that are paying you, but at the end of the day, like, hey man, I'm who you signed up with, Yeah.
And I mean, when it's costing you points too, I mean, it's got to be a valid concern for them as well. Whether or not he obviously publicly is going to be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I guarantee there's conversations of what can be happening.
Sure.
What we can do for this.
Yeah. What do you do for competition now? I mean, we've all got that.
Yeah.
Once you step outside of whatever level you hit, like, what do you do to fill that void?
Golf.
All right.
Golf. Because
all right, we're going. Here we go.
Listen, it was one of those things when I picked up golf during COVID, and it was the most frustrating thing on earth because it was small, puny finance dudes just out driving me. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, how is this possible? Like, and that's how I get competition. And it's a game that you're competing against yourself. Don't get me wrong, but when you've played it at the highest level of the sport, you expect it to translate. At least you may not be the highest level, but you don't feel like the average Joe can beat you in another sport,
right?
Or outperform you in another sport, and that's what golf is for me. And honestly, it's like one of those things that not only competition wise, but just kind of push you in the routine too, because you're so routine oriented as a player. Now it's like, okay, I schedule out my week. I know I'm going to go to the range, such and such, gym, range, play these days. Like it's kind of that putting yourself in that same scheduling as a player on a lower level, obviously, but it helps in the routine aspect of it too.
What do you got the handicap down to?
12.
Okay.
12. So
that's jumping down there.
Yeah, I mean, I always say the winter time is the time to work on things. So by the spring, I should be dialed.
There we go. I want to hear it. Where are we going to be down to?
Come spring, I hope to be down around, I don't take too much off, maybe 9, 10. Like, I think, and that's the thing is, the better you get, the smaller the margin of like getting better is.
Tell me about it.
You know, so it's one of those things. And it's one of those things that gets me out and travel. Like I take my clubs like almost
in my truck right now.
Yeah, like I take them almost every flight. Like I gotta have my clubs with me. I'm gonna find a course. I'm gonna find a way to get out and just, you know, it's a good way to kind of see and experience wherever city you're in too.
Yeah.
So for me, that's kind of like I'm all in. Like my dad watched golf and I'm like, yo, why are we watching this dumb sport? I can't find the ball on TV. Like it's slow, it's this, it's that. And now I'm just like,
oh, would you see this? Hey, rewind.
All that money I spent used to spend in the clubs, now I spend on clubs.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
So yeah, I spend a lot of money golfing.
Yeah, let's go do it.
So I'm with it.
All right. I think that is, I've spent a lot of time in my life playing other sports, and my dad told me all the time, he's like, I'll buy you any set of clubs you want if you'll just go play golf. And I was like, no, that's for wimps or whatever word I used. And then I got to be about 21 years old, and I was playing baseball somewhere, and some guy said, I said, where were you at the tournament this weekend? He said, I went and played golf this weekend. I just tore into him. And he goes, I won $1,000 this weekend. What'd you do? And I went, I'll be there next weekend.
Yeah. And I think golf has just become in the last 5 years, like the stuffiness of it. Like that's how I grew up attributing golf was like, it's the snobs, it's, you know, very uptight. And I think the image of golf has just gotten cooler. Like it's a cool thing to do now where it wasn't as cool before. So, man, I think it's one of those things that I think that's the next sport that's like, it's taking off like a rocket ship.
You been to the Phoenix Open yet?
For sure.
Go all the time. My buddy runs it, so we'll have to meet up down there.
Yeah. I honestly, like I went, the last time I went was like 2021 maybe. And I just got to the point where I was like, yo, this is getting out of control. Like it's gone to the point where I'm like, no, I'd rather watch it from afar. I actually like I go to some of the tournaments, the smaller tournaments. That's kind of more my thing. It's less crowd. You get to move around. You can really see guys a little bit more. And,
you go to the one in McKinney? They just had a live tournament down there.
I did. Yeah. I went to the one in at Meridell. Okay. So I went to that. I mean, look, now that I like going to golf, now I like playing golf. I go to golf. I kind of look. I watch women's golf. Like I'm all in. Spectrum, Live, PGA, LPGA, DP World Tour. Like, I'm watching it all. So
yes.
I've dove head first into the deep end on golf.
That's it. All right, we're for sure going. You listen to music?
Of course.
What are you listening to right now?
Right now, I've always been a rap R&B guy. I'm a 90s R&B guy. It's where I grew up on. I love that. So that's usually the rotation is like Lil Wayne, Future, and then a bunch of 90s R&B, 90s, 2000s R&B. I love the old school. People say it's not old school because but I'm 34. Like old school rap to me is like maybe Pac, early 50 Cent. Like that's just old school to me. You know what I'm saying? I know it's not the true old school, but like I was a freshman when 50 Cent dropped. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of that era.
Winners
like,
win, losers lose.
Yeah,
baby.
like so I always go back, especially if I'm golfing or just vibing. Like I'll throw something that I grew up, like a rap album I grew up on, an R&B album I grew up on. It's just let that ride out. But if I'm in the gym, it's whatever's new.
Yeah,
whatever's new. Yeah.
I got I'll shout out Bun B, good friend of mine. Bun, one of the greatest rappers, but also better dude.
That's what I heard. Like I said, Andy, like our mutual friend, like he talks about Bun. Like I think I met him once at an event, and he was just an awesome guy.
Yeah. Sent a video down to my kid for his senior birthday, and
nice.
Rapped a song on it for him and another coach that was there. I mean, you're just good people.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. Really, really honored to have somebody like you with such deep depth of knowledge in so many different areas. So impressed by the intelligence level, man. You got a lot of stuff going for you. So happy to have you.
Appreciate you having me.
We gonna get that golf though.
Man, tell me when and where.
Let's go.
Lock it in.
Anyways, until next time.